Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Destination Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Stoker. We've got a great episode for you today, an international guest, and I'm really excited to bring our guest on today. But before I do, I want to walk through a couple things that have been on my mind. One of the things that I've talked about for a long time is the new marketing equation, that we used to look at it as awareness, consideration, and purchase, and we would move people through a marketing funnel. And I've really changed my philosophy on that, and I think there's a new math equation for the destination marketing industry and for advertising as a whole that's really important, and that's attention plus trust equals action. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get people's attention. If you don't get people's attention, it doesn't matter. And attention is more active than just, oh, I saw your ad. It's interest. It's you have to capture their attention. That's why I use the word attention. And then trust is the other real critical component, because you can get attention, but if you don't have trust, you're not going to influence their actions. And so you really need those two things. So I really try when I'm structuring campaigns to get as much attention as possible and then convert that attention into trust as quickly as I can so that I can actually influence somebody to take an action. And so that math equation is really important. And I wanted to walk you through what I've seen in the social media space related to that, because I think going on a little bit of a historical journey here will help everybody kind of illustrate how important this math equation is. And I want to talk about the difference between influencers and creators. And there's a little bit of a history arc here. And I want to start first with the rise of influencers, because when social media first came out, there was this race to amass as many followers as possible. And you had some of these, what I would now call influencers, really grab a lot of follower count, and they built entire businesses off of the reach and volume that they could get from their social media pages. I, of course, would put each member of the Kardashian family in that group, right? The people that amassed these massive followings and leveraged it specifically to sell a product. And then the second wave of influencers was not necessarily celebrities, but it was people who got in early on the influencer side of things and built a significant audience and kind of converted that into a constant sales channel where they were consistently promoting products to their audience. And somewhere along the line, the audience started to recognize that instead of getting value from that influencer, what they were actually getting, or they were being used so that the influencer could make money through these product partnerships and these brand partnerships. And these influencers who had become so influential and important in the consumer economy, they started to lose their ability to get their audience to take action because the attention was there, but the trust was starting to dissipate. And at that time, you started to see these smaller creators who didn't have near the volume of followers or near the reach that these influencers did, started to suddenly see a much better conversion rate from the number of followers or even from the attention they got into action. And the reason is they didn't lie about what their purpose was. They are still absolutely trying to make money through content, but they added a piece that the influencers had forgotten. And the piece that they added was that they were providing value in the form of entertainment in their content. So even though a lot of these creators were creating skits and doing stuff that was not authentic, they were creating situations, what they were doing is entertaining the audience. And as a result of the entertainment value that the audience got, they were more willing to purchase from creators or to purchase a product promoted by creators than they were to purchase from an influencer who just kind of straight up was saying, here's what I'm selling, I want you to buy it because it's great. And that just wasn't enough anymore for people to purchase. And so as the creators started to rise, these influencers were really in trouble because they no longer had that connection with the audience because they lost the trust component. And creators have really been able to capture the trust that used to go to influencers because of the value that they're providing to the audience. And so it goes back to that equation: attention plus trust equals action. And if you lose either one of those, it's going to be very difficult for you to get somebody to do something. And that's why I think right now creators who don't have near the reach of influencers are a much better buy than an influencer. And even though their audiences are smaller, that's not the point. They have attention. And influencers at this point are much less able to get attention. I'm going to give you one example from an episode that I did of my podcast. It's actually been about a year and a half, but I think the case study is really interesting. I had Kyle Oland on from Play Golf Myrtle Beach. And Kyle's done a lot of really amazing work in the creator and influencer space in golf. And one of the things that he recognized early on is that reach is not the most important metric. In fact, he said one of the biggest mistakes that he made is he brought in a golf influencer named Paige Spiranek, and they didn't have the content value planned well enough. They really just banked on her name and the influence that her name was going to bring, because she's very influential in the golf space. And they realized that because they didn't do enough on the front end on the content value, the action wasn't taken because there wasn't enough value for the audience to do that. So now whenever he brings in creators, there's as much focus on the importance of the content as there is on the name of the person that they're bringing in. And I think that's a great example that destinations can learn from for the long term. So remember, there's a distinct difference between an influencer and a creator. And if I were any destination marketer out there today, I would not be doing any buys with influencers. I would focus entirely on creator partnerships because reach is no longer as important as attention. And with that, I want to bring in Crister Næss, and Crister is the head of Visit Voss. And that's not a destination in the United States. It's in Norway. And Crister, I'm so excited to have you here on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. And Crister, you and I met on LinkedIn. I think I had been posting a lot of content, and you ended up, I believe, interacting with a few of my posts. You and I were able to connect. I'd love to maybe start with how, from Norway, you found my content and ultimately led to us doing this episode together.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, it's curious, but coming back to content and all that stuff, it's interesting when you dive into a topic, you automatically get drawn into some kind of community or similar areas on the internet, basically, and then you get drawn into LinkedIn, and then the algorithms work that way. So then suddenly you show up, and then there's interesting content, and then you interact, and then you see more of it. And yeah, that's basically how it is. But I think for me, it resonated a lot. Some of the stuff you were writing on content, the last post you wrote on sports marketing as well. Yeah.
You know, Crister, it's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the algorithm and how it serves content today, because we've really moved from content that you have to kind of search for to where now if you have an interest in a specific topic, the content will find you in a lot of cases. And even LinkedIn is doing that. And it's just funny to me because I don't have Norway connections, right? Like I don't have a bunch of connections in my feed that are reposting to Norway. It was the topic. The topic was the thing that led you to see my content, led us to build a relationship. And this is such I would call it a microcosm of what's happening at scale right now, that if destinations create interesting and valuable content that provides value to the audience in some way, it's no longer, hey, my paid media budget is what causes me to get in front of people. It's the relevance of the content. And I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I kind of changed the industry I'm working in the last couple of years as well. So going into interacting more with tourism content, you see more of that. And that's a really good example of how the algorithms are adapting to what I'm interacting with.
Awesome. Well, before we get into your story, because I want to learn more about you and your background, do you have any reactions or comments on the difference between an influencer and a creator?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Uh, we have a influencer program in place here, but what we pivoted towards is we don't. It's not about the views. It's not about the reach. It's the conversions, right? So how much value you actually create, um, and that comes from the content. And quality content makes interactions, and then we just talked about it. So for us, the value of really good quality content is maybe higher than the amount of views or reach, and also the right fit for the right profile. Uh, Hopefully, a person with like local ties or a relationship to the destination. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Krister, and I appreciate you indulging me a little bit on that monologue. I'd love to learn more about you. Let's learn about your background and what led you to now be the head of Visit Voss.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dig into my resume. You can probably check me out on LinkedIn or whatever. But I have a background from sports, skiing, outdoor activities, and I also spent quite some time in the military. So that's my like that's what formed me as a person, I would say. But I also have like business school and education and marketing education. Uh, but I basically started in travel a long time ago, running my own guide company. Uh, and that's also where I got into marketing. So back then, there wasn't a lot of people doing paid marketing or performance marketing at all. So there was a huge opportunity to do that and gain momentum and build social media and stuff pretty quickly. Compared to now, it's very hard to build the same
Yeah.
traction very fast as back then. But that also brought me into business development, marketing tech, and into the tech community and retail. So I worked quite a few years with retail and e-commerce and marketing there. And then I ended up at Voss, this amazing place, and I love the place, and I wanted to live here. And one of the biggest industries here is tourism, so it only makes sense to move into tourism.
Great. I want to go back though to when you started your guide company. Of all the things you could have done after the military, after the sports career that you had, why did you start a guide company?
Good question. Because we got a lot of questions from friends, just because we were pretty avid skiers. We were out there doing backcountry skiing and touring, and a lot of people were asking us to just bring them on. So that's probably the main reason. And then also at that point, I thought it made more sense to be outdoors and be active. And I was pretty free at that point, so I could roam around and do whatever I wanted. And I also kind of from the background in sports and being a bit of a adrenaline junkie, it made a lot of sense at that point.
And you've guided in the Alps, you've guided in Canada, right? You've had
Yeah,
a pretty extensive opportunity as a guide to be in really unique places.
yeah. Started up northern Norway, an area called Lyngen and Lofoten, which is pretty international, internationally known for good skiing. Because I was working up there, and then been over in Canada and in the Alps and around skiing. Basically, taking all the opportunities I had to go skiing wherever I could.
And then you mentioned that you knew you wanted to be in Voss, and I would love to have you. You know, I would say in the United States, not a ton of people know about Voss, Norway, and so I would love to have you give the overview of Voss as a destination and what makes it so appealing that you wanted to kind of settle down and build the rest of your career there.
Yeah, my girlfriend is from here, so that makes sense. But
That
we
helps.
lived in Canada right before moving here, and at that point we were pretty set on going back to Norway, and we didn't really know where to settle down. And and what we wanted to do, but we like being outdoors and being close to the mountains and outdoors and be able to mountain bike and ski and kayak or whatever you want to do, and you can do all of that in Voss. So that was one of the main reasons, and I think I pushed more for it than she did. I think she wanted to live more in the city. So yeah, but Voss is only 1 hour from where I grew up in Bergen, the second biggest city in Norway. But what makes this place amazing is it has a long tradition with skiing. So I had a relationship with this place from childhood and from skiing competitive when I was younger. And then we just discussed where we want to live, and we ended up here because of all the opportunities we have. But skiing is the main reason. A history of skiing back to Second World War, basically.
Wow.
The Germans brought a ski lift here, and then it was built right after the Germans left and Norway was free again. And then it was a World Cup stop for quite some years. And then summer tourism basically took over after that. But it's been a really strong winter destination and a strong summer destination. Mostly based on activity tourism, outdoor and nature.
So skiers around the world then have probably heard of Voss, and I'm just exposing the fact that I don't ski. Is that probably what's happening here?
Yeah, I think at least back in the 60s, a lot of skiers know about Voss, at least. Maybe not so much now. Hopefully more, though. It's growing. It's a growing season for us. But yeah, we have actually Voss has the most Olympic winter medals per capita of all cities in the whole world, which is pretty cool. There is only around 15,000 people living here, so.
Wow, so 15,000 people, and you have a really robust winter tourism economy with skiing, but then also the summer tourism economy is really healthy as well. I guess what that brings immediately is questions around like, okay, how do 15,000 people support the volume of visitation that comes to the community, and what challenges does that bring?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We're working really closely with the municipality here now, the government office, and the tourism industry, and Visit Voss together to figure out how to handle this going forward. For now, people are really happy with tourism here. We don't really have the big mass tourism problems. We're in a lucrative position that way. We have a growing industry. It's booming, but it's not like over tourism or problematic in any way. And I think that's maybe because of the positioning we have and what we offer as well. And we don't really dive too much into mass tourism. None of the things we offer are really mass tourism. It's not like super based on mass tourism. It's more on activity tourism. So yeah, but we're working on it, and we do guest service in the local community to monitor how the sentiment is. We follow up on all reviews on the destination level. So we try to keep an eye on that at all times and try to figure out where are the pain points and how can we mitigate those.
So where are some of the challenges that you really have to work on as an organization?
I think the biggest challenge for a small place like Voss is basically recruitment and getting the right people here and getting the right competency to move to a small village like Voss. It's not a huge problem here. It is a problem, of course, but Voss has been growing in population despite being a small village. and you don't really see that too many other places in Norway, especially in rural places. But recruitment is a issue, and the industries are travel, and then more like the official jobs in schools and hospitals, and public domain, and then industry, basically, in this destination.
So one of the things that I kind of got a kick out of on our previous call when we were planning for this episode is you mentioned that you're starting to see a lot of people show up and say, hey, I found out about Voss on ChatGPT, or I was doing some research and ChatGPT surfaced some things related to Voss. So I guess my first question is, when did you start recognizing that AI was helping get people to the destination? And was that something that you did intentionally, or was it kind of a windfall that happened and you're really glad it did, but you didn't do a lot to influence it? One of the benefits that I have of talking to so many different destination marketers is I get to hear the problems that are recurring over and over and over again for destinations. And one of the things that I am constantly hearing is just how expensive it is to generate content for a destination. And there's a real challenge that destinations have where if you bring in a production crew and that production crew, pulls together a lot of the different footage or the different broadcast spots or whatever it is that a destination is doing from a video content perspective, you're going to chew up so much of your content budget so fast by doing it that way. And as I heard several of those examples, I thought to myself, I think I can create a solution here that's going to fix part of this problem. And so after going back and forth with a few different destination marketers about the way their content flow is structured and the workflow that they're using, I came up with an idea that I think is going to be really, really valuable for especially content-centric campaigns that are going to be needed to be successful in the industry. And so a lot of people are using user-generated content, and I think that's great, but there's still a lot of time spent kind of scouring the hashtags or scouring the different content that has been generated that features the destination. And I thought to myself, what if I can create a technology where destinations can put their content wish list out there, and then everyday creators, people that live in the destination, maybe they want a side hustle, maybe they're working on their photography or videography skills, whatever they're doing, they can go grab those jobs and produce them for really cheap. It was also really important to me as I created this to make sure that there's not a monthly recurring expensive software cost to this, because I just feel like there's so many SaaS products that are hitting the monthly P&L for destinations. I wanted it to be something that you only pay if you buy content. And so the way it works is it's a marketplace where destinations can submit their wish list for content, and then creators can grab the content requests, produce the content, upload the content, and then if the destination wants to buy it, they buy it. If the destination doesn't want to buy it, they're not obligated to buy it. It only is used when the transaction takes place. And so it incentivizes the creators to create really valuable and interesting content, and incentivizes the destination to do a better job with their context and posting briefs that actually get the creators to be able to create good content for the destination. So if any of you have like this list of local creators that you work with, and you've got a spreadsheet of all their emails and all of this, where and you've got to get the rights for the photos or the content or the videos. It's just a lot of time to manage all of that, either out of a spreadsheet, out of your Gmail or whatever. And this platform that we've built called Koa has really changed the way destinations can capture that content, save a ton of time, save a ton of money, and hopefully take your content expense down to near zero. If you want to be one of our beta testers, we've got 5 destinations in. We want 5 more destinations testing it. Go to koacontent.com and you can sign up as a DMO to be a beta tester for this technology, and I think you're going to find it incredibly valuable for you.
The last, to be honest, but it's something we're working really intentionally with now. As now that we know and we have the data and we can follow up and we do the service and all that. But I think it's hard to say why, but I think it's based on a lot of good content and information about the destination. The domain authority of Visit Voss as well plays a role. as a source of truth. And then I'm really happy we're there. And you can do, everyone listening now, or you, or whatever, you can go to Google and search for Voss Norway, or go to ChatGPT and see what comes up. I'm pretty sure a lot of destinations will envy us what comes up. So the challenge is more to make sure people discover us, and then start like communicating with ChatGPT about Voss, because then they will be feeded all that information. But I think it's just many years of building a destination, and the quality in the destination, and then a lot of information available and being indexable, and then we work to utilize that even more and make more relevant information available for AI, and how to make that the way from inspiration to transaction as frictionless as possible.
So when did you start to see people saying, "Hey, I learned about Voss on ChatGPT," or those types of things? When did that start to show up?
I'm not sure. I kind of had an idea about it because I've worked in tech and marketing before I started here. I only recently started here like the 1st of February in this job, so I haven't been running this Voss for that long. But I had my ideas before stepping into this role. And now we've been asking, we have a survey in the tourist information office, which is right next to me here. And we have about at least 60 to 80,000 people coming through that office every year. So now we have like a super short survey and ask them the questions. How did you find Voss? Why did you come here? And questions like that. And a lot of them say ChatGPT. And then we also did one of the things I did when I started here was looking into more analyzing the visibility we have in terms of AI. And we see we have a pretty good visibility, especially on ChatGPT. That is the platform where we're doing best on. But we're also doing good on AI overviews from Google. And all of this is basically based on traditional parameters like SEO and the stuff that people have been working with in the marketing community for a long time.
So then tell me, now that you're being more intentional, you've recognized that AI is a great source for you, specifically ChatGPT. What changes have you made in your process to try to even get more influence in the AI platforms? Have you made website structural changes? Have you changed the way you're doing content? Or what is it that you feel like you're doing now that's intentional and it's designed to increase your AI results?
Yeah, I would more say what we're planning to do, because we just started doing a lot of things, putting in a lot of measures into place. But one thing everyone can do is just briefly do an analysis of their visibility in AI, and then you can use tools like Searchable or any other tools, and see where you're not showing up, and what questions people are asking the language models that you're not answering. And one of the simplest things you can do is just build a really good FAQ to answer a lot of those questions. How do you get there? The prices for the most common things in the destination, the best stuff to do here. And then also all the own content you can work with, like reviews play a huge role. Like you said it in the introduction, trust. Trust is key. So the sources that bring trust is, for example, reviews. And you have Reddit. It's turning out to be a huge source of traffic to AI.
Yep.
And it's because it's real people actually talking about a destination or tourism on Reddit. So AI is and all the platforms are basically seeing that this is real people talking about real things. So it's the authentic and the trust in it that matters. So we're following up reviews on a destination level, mapping out all the reviews, the sentiment, and we see we do pretty well. Like we're about 9 out of 10 stars or rating on a destination level, which is pretty high. And then we have some people that are not doing that well, which you will always have, but on a general level, we score really high on quality and on how people experience the destination, and that turns into content on Reddit or all other platforms. So what I used to say is, you can never fix a really good product, no matter how much marketing money you spend. So the quality in the destination and the host role and what you offer and the quality of the products and tour operators is basically the foundation. And then we're working on content, how to tell this story. Like how do we play on all the strengths Voss has? So you can map out the USPs of your destination, and then what makes you stand out from everyone else, and then be razor sharp and focus on that in all content and whatever you communicate. That's probably the short story.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned Reddit, and I agree with you. I actually think Reddit may be one of the biggest untapped opportunities for tourism destinations, but it's also one of the biggest challenges, because as soon as a brand shows up, people on Reddit kind of scatter and they don't want to engage directly with a brand in a lot of cases. And so I'm wondering if you have a strategy developed that you intend to launch on Reddit that you think is going to be effective to help you increase the volume of conversation about Reddit and make sure also that it has the tone that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. We haven't really dived too much into that yet. We're discussing that because you're entirely correct. If we go in as a brand, visit Voss and start interacting with people there, people will stay away. They would, and that doesn't really build too much trust. Or it can do, but I think it's way more trust building if the local community or locals jump onto the platform and talk good about our destination, or just people coming here. Like we have a huge community in extreme sports that come here every year, and they're probably the best ambassadors we can get. They love the destination and they come here because of the rivers, the nature, the extreme sports, and everything you can do here. So, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but I think, again, if people have a good experience, if they're natural ambassadors because they love Voss as a destination, they will talk positive about us if they interact on Reddit. So that should be the number one thing you work towards.
Awesome. Well, so let's talk then about reviews, because you said reviews is something that you're very focused on. How do you keep track of reviews across the destination? And then if you have somebody that's kind of a problem child, right, that their reviews aren't as positive as everyone else in the destination, is that something that you actually go in and have a conversation with that stakeholder and try to help them understand how to improve their reviews? Or do you just kind of avoid that and just focus on the ones that are getting good reviews, and the ones that are getting good reviews get featured in your content? What's your philosophy on I guess the holistic experience when it comes to reviews?
Yeah, that's a good question. Since I haven't been working here too long, I haven't really had those conversations as of yet, but I think that is one of the things we would need to do at one point. We have a few workshops in the teams, and we're pretty clear that we need to work more in terms of product development, concept development, together with the local businesses. So we take a much bigger role in just developing the businesses and the industry where they need our support. So we use the expertise we have in the team to help local businesses. And if that means, and we also launched a host program and on Motivate, so online coursing and just getting to know the destination, and a host program for everyone to do. So online courses for free, which we our offering, and we also offer quite a bit of. We do newsletters we send out to all the local businesses where we share tips and tricks and help them as much as we can, and then we try to interact as much as possible. But on a more like bigger level, I try to map that out and have the data on all the reviews, and we use different tools to research that and we pull all the data from all the different reviews platforms, and then we get a average of that, and that's the average sentiment score of the destination.
And then you track that score over time.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's really good. Crister, there's a million different questions I have for you, but we've only got a couple of minutes left here. And so I want to instead turn it around on you and say, what haven't I asked you that you think would be really valuable for other destinations who are listening to know?
About Voss or in general? Like
Voss, how you market, whatever you think. Basically, what's the takeaway for somebody listening that they can learn from and maybe even go implement in their destination tomorrow?
I think one of the success factors of Voss has been quality tour operators for a long time. They've been doing a really good job in just offering quality products. So if you have a quality products, people will come. And also the destination has been really focused on a bit of a like narrow focus on what the destination wants to be. So extreme sports, we have the biggest extreme sport festival in the world. So that has been key in the positioning and branding of Voss, and also the skiing. But so that's been central to what we're doing.
This is one thing that I think destinations that are listening need to understand is if you want something associated with your brand, creating an owned event that makes you the center for that is so helpful if you want to connect your brand with something. So, for example, Voss, extreme sports is something that's critical to your brand. So you are hosting a major extreme sports event or festival every year. And now that directly associates your brand with the thing that you want to be a brand attribute for you. And so this is a great example of building brand connections through owned events. And I love that you're doing that. So I just want to make sure everybody that's listening kind of hears that and understands that that's a lever you can pull to both get attention and trust, and it really helps you build your brand.
Yeah. And this started from 4 clubs back in 1998. So it was the paragliding club, the skydiving club, the mountain biking club, and the kayak club. They started the Extreme Sport Festival. And at one point, I think Frode, one of the founders, said, like, this is going to be the biggest event in extreme sports in the world in a few years. And he was right. And from that, they've built significant operations in rafting, whitewater kayaking, zipline parks, climbing parks, high road parks, and water sports is or like wide water river sports is big here, and we have one of the biggest skydiving clubs in the world here as well. So yeah, extreme sports is just grown because of that. So the event started really small as kind of like an underground event, and then it's grown, and then it's been key for the destination in the branding and positioning. And from that, you can build other stuff, the wider products, the more soft adventure stuff. But the main events and like the, what do you call it, the reason to come is often because people want to identify with the nature, the fjords, and extreme sports.
Awesome. Crister, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking some time to come on. It's late for you. It's after 5 o'clock, and you stayed on and joined us for the recording of the episode. I really appreciate that, and this has been really helpful for us to get to know you and visit Voss.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. If people want to learn more about you or Voss, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Probably on LinkedIn or visit voss.com. Keep an eye on what we're doing. Come to Voss. We're going into Extreme Sport Week. Yeah, we're going into the Extreme Sport Week next week. It's one of the biggest events here. So yeah, that, or we're posting a lot of them on AI and stuff these days. So keep an eye out. We're doing a pretty cool project with DataKite, a company. So you can follow them as well, see what they're posting about building AI and building the gap between social media and AI commerce. On a destination level.
Well, thank you, Crister. This has really been great.
Thank you. It's been great.
And thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to leave us a rating or a review. It helps us continue to bring you amazing guests like Crister. Thanks everybody, and have a great week. If you have one of the templated destination websites in the destination marketing space, your website is irrelevant. If you have built your value to your stakeholders on clicks that come to your website, you are about to be irrelevant. The website issue in our space is a huge, huge problem, and we are working our way towards a cliff that's going to be very difficult to recover from for so many of the destinations who've been comfortable with a templated, glorified directory website for a long time. We've worked really hard to solve this problem. We partnered with an organization out of the UK who builds destination websites specifically, and we reimagined the destination website to actually inspire visitation, which for some reason got lost along the way. Our purpose is to inspire visitation, to create new demand. And we've gotten to the point where these websites do the exact opposite. They're just demand capturers. If somebody's already searching for a stakeholder or a business within our destination, we're capturing that intent. But the problem is our job is to create new intent, and you can only do that with a website that truly inspires people to travel. So if you know that you're one of the people that I'm talking about that has a templated website that is optimized for what we are not supposed to be responsible for, but it tells just a great story to your stakeholders, it's time to change that because that story is ending. So if you want to see what this reimagined website concept has been that we have several destinations in process with right now, hit me up, adam@thebrandrevolt.com. I'll show you what we're building. I'll show you what we have built for several destinations at this point and how we can help you get out of the templated mess of the sea of sameness and actually have a website that inspires travel. adam@thebrandrevolt.com.